This is William K. Murtaugh, Witness 1, and happy Juneteenth. Start of a brand new holiday. Interesting how fast things get done when you want them to get done. Anyway, on to today's topic. Today I would like to talk about denial. Now, I was sent a rather interesting comment that was made on Twitter on the task force account. And the task force says, we do not have a BitChute site. We only link from it. And we only link posts. Which I found rather interesting, because it would appear that the task force is giving themselves a demotion. Rather than being a part of the all-important high and mighty high command, they're nothing more than a pass the message site. Not even a messenger, they just pass the message along. They share, they retweet. That's their lot in life. Not as important as they bragged about being in the past. Now, why this sudden revelation from the task force? Well, it might be something known as joint liability. You see, there is a number of civil lawsuits pending. One from Mr. Craig Sawyer, another one by Leanne Kruger is being contemplated, and at least one or two others that have not spoken up yet. And this creates a bit of a liability problem for these various websites, because they have engaged in organized defamation and slander. And in the court system, the preponderance level is quite low, where you don't have to have beyond a reasonable doubt to obtain a judgment in favor of the plaintiff. Something akin to preponderance of the evidence is all that's really needed. Because you're not going towards a criminal charge, you're going towards civil liability. So it's a total change in standard. And the account holders realize this. And so now you're having a separation, so to speak. People are starting to disavow themselves from the individuals creating the slander. And so the high command is finding itself an orphan among its supporters. That, yeah, we support you, but we're not going to take responsibility for anything you post. Now, the problem for the task force is that she has made it clear who she is, what she owns, and what she believes in. And thus, she is going to be equally liable in any lawsuit. Now, these people could sit there and tell the viewers of their websites that we are not this person, we are not that person. But when the rubber meets the road and court orders start being filed for the provider services such as Twitter to give out the owner's name and contact information on this task force account, that secret will be out there. Because that person is either going to be a defendant, a material witness, or both. So these people are not really getting out of anything by making these declarations that we're only retweeting what somebody else says. They're declaring themselves as part of the union. This is one of the things about civil liability that people need to understand when they start going around hurling accusations. And that is that in the event that someone decides to file a civil lawsuit, you are going to be held into account. And you could very well wind up like Preacher Dan as being found at fault and liable for damages. Now, again, I would like to speak to the Preacher Dan $4.6 million judgment. Now, I have stated in the past that Preacher Dan is not going to entirely escape liability for his actions. In other words, he is going to have to pay something, somehow. And he is also now branded as a person who has lost a civil his case in court. He's a loser. He did not prevail. It has been shown that he is wrong in his accusations against Craig Sawyer. And that in itself is enough damage to Preacher Dan's credibility to make a difference in certain circles. Now, in general, this group is only generating interest in a small pool of individuals. It's half a dozen, maybe a dozen individuals spewing out this nonsense, and they are in fact preaching to the choir. A bunch of people out there that are foolish enough to believe what these charlatans have to say and tune in to hear the latest bunch of bullshit that these people spew out. Now, eventually, this is going to go away, just like it did with Field McConnell. At some point, once Field McConnell got himself in trouble, people left in droves. And so there's a marginal few number of people that consider Field McConnell a hero. You know, for all intents and purposes, his influence has evaporated. He's a footnote, a piece of trivial to be talked about in the past tense. He is no longer in a position to do much of anything except provide fodder for those who want to engage in hero worship of so-called fallen heroes. This is eventually going to happen to the others as troubles mount, as truths start to come out, and people move on to other things. The QAnon movement has already diminished significantly. There's still a problem with these individuals, but for the most part, QAnon is beginning to fade in much the same manner that Anonymous faded. They simply went away. And I would venture to guess that possibly by the first of 2022, QAnon is going to be pretty much forgotten, and if not forgotten, pretty much marginalized. And anyone that continues to follow this nonsense is going to be looked at more and more as a kook, which they all are anyway. The people behind the high command, the people behind the task force and the PPTF and so forth are a bunch of morons. These people are nuts, to put it lightly. They're also criminals and they're also grifters because they're sucking money out of people for pure nonsense. They might as well establish themselves as entertainment rather than any kind of truth-telling entity or news entity, because they're not. They're certainly not a news entity, and they're certainly not a vessel of truth. They're quite the opposite. And so, with that, I'm going to end this little parlay into the world of the weird. I would suggest that you go and listen to Levi's show that he did last night. A lot of interesting details came about there, and I think you might find it worthwhile to tune in and check them out. And I would also suggest that people go and check out Divine Interloper 2, excuse me for mangling their name, for that YouTube channel has also proven to be quite informative. If you tune in to the High Command and the Task Force's various multimedia channels, you will find just how uninformed these people are and just how dumb they are. And you will see how they are just asking to get themselves sued. And it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. So until then, this is William K. Murtaugh, Mert Witness 1. Please like, subscribe, share, and stay tuned for more from the wild and weird internet. Until then, have a good one.